Congratulations, you're going to college. There are a number of things to be taken care of and skills to be developed so that you're ready to be successful from your first day on campus. Hi, I'm Katherine O'Brien, the founder of Celtic College Consultants. Since 2004, I've been empowering teens to not only create college goals, select schools, get through the application process and get accepted, but to also be ready to launch successfully onto the college campus of their dreams. Having attended Northwestern University and Franciscan University of Steubenville, I'm familiar with the rigors of an engineering school, as well as the very different demands of a graduate school in humanities. Let's get you ready. Welcome to the adult world. Now that you're 18 and or about to be a college student, you're an adult, at least legally. We'll address a few legal issues you need to take care of before we move into more mundane topics like dealing with a roommate and getting used to a dorm. The Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA, requires that students age 18 or older, which really any college student, no matter how old you are, provide written consent before education records such as grades, transcripts, and disciplinary records can be shared with their parents, with limited exceptions. Colleges commonly notify parents of this requirement, but a lot of times they don't always understand or they might forget. Discussing educational records authorization at orientation for new students is important. Signing a release if you want your parents to be able to see your grades, etc. Not doing so can cause problems down the road. It's not uncommon for college kids to ignore a notification that financial aid documentation was not complete. Something's missing, or you don't know what to do, and then you forget about it. When parents receive the tuition bill, though, for the coming semester, they can be shocked to find a scholarship missing or something else wrong in a bigger bill than they were expecting. When they call the school for an explanation, they get told to call you, the student, because the school can't provide information to the parent without that FERPA waiver, okay? So ultimately the situation can get resolved and the scholarship may or may not be, but if there's a letter of authorization on file at the financial aid office, then a lot of grief and anxiety and problems and expense can be handled, avoided. So that's what FERPA is. So you're going to want to watch for a waiver or an authorization form so that they can talk to your parents. HIPAA is something else that we've all heard about. It's the healthcare privacy thing. And a HIPAA authorization allows doctors to speak about a student's medical condition with whomever the student has put in the HIPAA document. Some students may be hesitant about sharing private medical information with their parents, but you can set limits on how much or what type of information the parents can receive. For example, a student with diabetes might be willing to disclose that she has her blood sugar checked regularly, but not want her parents to know the actual levels. There's a section in the authorization form for special instructions, and so you can describe that kind of detail of what you want shared and what you don't there. Though, I recommend that students fill out a blanket HIPAA authorization, giving parents full access to the student's health information in any circumstances, which is especially valuable in situations that can't be anticipated. This authorization, a copy, should be kept by the parents in a handy place because they'll need to show it in the event something happens. I'd like to share something a little personal, if you don't mind. One of my children refused to sign one of these. She was Miss Feisty, going to go be independent. Don't need you. I got this, Mom. I can take care of things. But about 6 weeks into the semester, she had a really serious reaction to her medication, and she ended up in the hospital. No one would tell me where she was, and she was too sick to call. She's 2,000 miles away, halfway across the country. Finally, I happened to call her at a time when she could answer, and a nurse was in the room. My daughter handed the phone and made the nurse tell me what was going on. I got on a plane and ended up bringing her home on a medical leave of absence from school. By the time I got there, I was completely stressed out because I knew something was wrong because of talking to her before this all happened and things were starting to happen, but I didn't know what happened. But I hadn't been able to get any updates because she was too sick to sign a waiver. She was too sick to give the authorization. And so I'm left hanging while I'm trying to get 2,000 miles to go and see what needs to happen. Be aware that even with a blanket authorization, students might still need to sign a release that's specific to the college's student health center. So you may need to do more than one of these. Different colleges have different policies and procedures and releases based on the confidentiality laws of their state. And be aware that, like in my case, when my daughter went out of state for school, she needed to really do one of these at home in case something happened when she was on break and she was home with us, and at school, so that in that state they could also talk to us. Now, a HIPAA waiver only authorizes the sharing of information. A medical power of attorney or a living will or a healthcare proxy or an advance directive, got lots of names for these. This kind of document gives authority to make decisions regarding your care in the event you're unable to make those decisions. And most people think of using a healthcare power of attorney, something like this, with an older parent, but it's equally important for college-age children. This document gives parents the ability to make decisions about their child's health care. Typically, that power doesn't kick in unless the child is physically or mentally incapable of making medical decisions. But each state has its own criteria. Please note, if a student, again, like the other situation, if the student goes to school out of state, you're going to need it for both states. So having a power of attorney for healthcare is especially important because these days we have just so many mental health issues manifesting, and difficult situations sometimes arise because of that. And the student really isn't able to make a decision, and the parent is needed. So if they don't have the authority, it gets to be a problem. Okay. One more area. Isn't it fun being an adult? There's lots of responsibilities. So another big area is financial. First, make a budget. Sit down this summer with your mom or dad or somebody you trust and make a budget and stick to it. A program that I use, and it's an app on the phone, so it's super handy, is called Every Dollar. It's a Dave Ramsey thing, but you don't have to be into Dave Ramsey to use it, and it's free. And you can set your budget in there, and then because it's on your phone, it's really easy to enter in transactions as you go, or to check your balance, like, oh, I only have $20 left for dining this month, and I wanted to go do this thing. Is there money left somewhere else I could move it around? Or yeah, I'm going to have to pass and not go on this event. It's super handy to have because you can set a budget, but you have to use the budget for it to actually be helpful because you only have a finite amount of money. So that's one area. And another document to consider is a financial power of attorney. It can be useful in many situations. For instance, if a student has a car accident or gets ill, leaving him or her temporarily or permanently unable to make financial decisions. If bank accounts, a car, or other assets are titled in the name of the student, the power of attorney avoids the expensive and drawn-out court process of having a parent appointed as a guardian for the student. Another thing you could do is have joint accounts, which is what I had with my daughter. So I could access her money, which I needed to do when I got to campus to take care of some of the things that needed to happen there. So I took care of some stuff on my own, and then she had money that she needed to take care of some stuff with as well. But because I was on her account, I could access that and take care of that while she was in the hospital. Because, as you can imagine, there's a lot to get pulled together in order to be able to take a student home suddenly in the middle of a semester. Okay. So financial power of attorney is one way to do this. A joint account's another way to do it. There were some other aspects of a financial power of attorney that I thought were important, which is why I included it. So it can also be useful if the student plans to travel abroad, if they're going to do a study abroad semester, or maybe if fraud happens and the account's overdrawn or something like that, because the students sometimes aren't very responsible, and sometimes they don't deal with things promptly, as I mentioned before. And it's such a new thing. So it's understandable that there's going to be some hiccups and some mistakes, and having that ability to step in and move money into an account or take care of a situation, and coach the student along is helpful. Because of course, all these things happen during midterms or finals when you're just up to your eyeballs in schoolwork. And the last thing you need to do is run off campus to the bank to go do whatever, right? And be aware, though, that medical or financial powers of attorney, those remain in effect unless they're revoked or changed. So that's something that you also want to remind yourself, that if that's something you want to do temporarily when you're in school and do something different at different times in your life, you'll need to revoke or, destroy the original ones. Okay, so let's move into more of what you probably thought we were going to talk about, because that was a lot of legal stuff to consider. So as you have likely already heard, your class schedule in college is going to take significantly less time than being in high school. And so planning your time with that seemingly wide open schedule is absolutely essential. So start by putting your class schedule on a weekly calendar, be it a Google Calendar or a piece of paper. Then note any other appointments, shifts at work, or activities you plan to attend. And then around those fixed events, you want to plan 3 hours of study time for every hour of class time. And plan 9 hours for sleeping. Now, I say 9 hours. You're not going to just sleep 9 hours, but that includes an hour to shower and pull yourself together in the morning and get changed at night and clean up the day's messes and, cycle your clothes around and all that kind of thing that you need to do. Because getting sufficient sleep is essential to being successful, so you need to make it your top priority. So schedule it in. And at the same time, you need to give yourself a few weeks to get into a routine. Living in a dorm means you're living with a large number of people. And at first, of course, they're all strangers. So it's going to take some time to adjust for you and for everyone else. If the bathroom is one of those situations like I had when I was a freshman and it's down the hall and there were, I don't remember, 30 of us or so sharing, I think there were 3 shower stalls. You had to figure out when you could get in there, because the first morning was hysterical. We all showed up around the same time, and you've got a line of 15 women trying to take a shower. That just didn't work. So we had to figure out how we could do this, how to handle this situation. So those kinds of things are going to come up. You're just sorting out when it's going to be quiet in the dorm. There's a lot of trial and error. So be patient with yourself, but absolutely work on getting a routine happening and scheduling your study time. And for some people, working is not optional. So they're going to have a work-study job, or that's part of the plan of how we're going to cover all the costs. But for others, it is. And I just wanted to share that studies show that working 10 to 15 hours a week typically improves the student's academic performance. Their grades are better. Because having that small amount of work to fit into the schedule just forces you to focus on your studies better, because this is the window you have to get a task accomplished. So you're better about buckling down and getting it done, as opposed to, well, I could do it now, or I could do it later, or, oh, that's pretty, or that's a movie, or, all the things that distract us. And we end up going, oh, golly, I had 5 hours ago to do for this because it's a really big thing. And now I have 2 hours left or an hour left and I got to cram. Okay. Because procrastination is not your friend. So if a job or some other way adds a little bit of pressure to help you be more focused with your time, that's a good thing. You've probably heard about all-nighters. Yes, you can do them when you're young, you get away with it. But we also know from research that students who pull all-nighters and procrastinate and do things at the last minute don't get as good at grades as the students who are prepared and they don't feel as good. I mean, you're just tired and cranky. And students who have done it ahead of time, they feel better about themselves having gotten that accomplished, and they've got sleep, and they just are more awake and attentive, and they're doing better on so many levels. So it's all about choosing to sleep. So make that simple choice. And you don't have to be like the big nerd that goes to bed at 8 o'clock or something silly. I mean, obviously, but just make it happen so that you can make everything else happen. You worked really hard in high school, so you want to take advantage of this. And as you learned in high school, having the right setting for doing your homework is going to be hugely important. Find a place that's quiet, not got a lot of traffic, has room for you to spread out your papers and your books and your computer. Turn your phone off. Turn off the internet if you can. And just as in high school, reviewing your notes daily, pre-reading the text are key habits of successful students. I recommend you re-watch the CPI video from freshman year on study skills, just to remind you of all the things that work together to prepare you to earn top grades. Then up your game a little bit, because after all, this is college. This is a picture of a college library. You'll notice you don't see any books in this room. Colleges typically have large study rooms like this, as well as small desks tucked away in the stacks, just like most public libraries have. Rooms like this generally are very quiet, and many students like to study in this sort of situation because other people around them are studying. So typically, you'll have people kind of every other space, so everybody's got space around them, buffering them, except for during exam times when it's just a little bit more busy. But just that reinforcement of we're all here to study. You're in the right environment. There are other people around. It's funny. It kind of holds you accountable because you're here to study, not goof off, but nobody's sitting there watching and holding you accountable. So it just sets up the stage for success. So I want to encourage you to get friendly with your library. Find your place to go study. And also you want to find a place for group projects and studying, because that's not going to happen in places like this. That's going to happen in the student union or study rooms or dorm rooms or something else where talking and all that kind of stuff is great, as opposed to a room like this. Okay. Getting along with a stranger or the strangers you now call roommates takes some time and some consistent, clear communication. Each of you is going to need to maintain your part of the room. You'll need to work together to coordinate bedtimes and rising times so you can each meet your needs. And don't plan on doing much studying in your dorm. It's just not going to happen. And especially if you've got multiple roommates, there's people in and out, and you really can't count on any consistent quiet at all. And make, it doesn't have to be real formal, but who's going to clean the microwave? Who brought the microwave? Who's going to clean the microwave? Who's going to make sure the fridge doesn't get gross? Who's going to clean up messes? Some of us are super tidy kind of people, and we just really want everything just so and really clean. Others of us, if I can find everything, I'm good. So have those conversations just to build the bridge between you and figure out how you can get along, how you can work this thing out so that you both get the sleep you need and all the rest of it. Okay. But what happens when conflicts arise? You need to take time to talk things through when you're calm. So maybe you're a little too hot about it and you just need to chill out. Make a time, schedule a time. So, you know what? We're both available at 4. Let's connect at the student union, have a coffee, and we need to sit down and talk about this thing that just happened. Okay? And if you can't resolve the issue between the two of you, go talk to the RA. RAs, or resident advisors or resident assistants, are there for situations just like this. So these are older students. They've gotten some training, and this is their work study job, that they are in the dorm to be a resource. If something breaks, you go to them. If you can't get along with your roommate, you go to them. If, the kid down the hall is being super loud at 2 o'clock in the morning, you go to them. That's what they're there for, to help things run smoothly and assist the residents. That's what they're for. And remember to speak clearly. Think about what you want to say before you meet. And listen attentively. What do they want to say? Your roommate's grown up someplace else, and they're used to different things than you are. You're both adjusting. So take time to work it out. Take time to touch base. If you've got 3 roommates, like some people have quads for their freshman year, once every week or 2, just have a little dorm room meeting, kind of like a family meeting at home. Just touching base. Everything chill? Everybody good? Any issues? Anybody got lost socks or whatever? Okay, I've noticed that this and that. The other thing's happening and it's a problem because, and so we got, have those conversations. And you're going to need to set up, and over time you'll figure out what these things are, but set up some guidelines for your room. Are you going to keep the door open or closed when people are there? How are you going to let people know who aren't home when someone's changing clothes? Because a lot of times you're basically just walking into a bedroom, right? It's a hallway of bedrooms. That's what a dormitory is. And, you might be changing in the middle of the day because you're going from one activity to another activity, or you just came back from working out or whatever. And then your roommate walks in and like, hello. So how are you going to signal that? How are you guys going to work that out? Or what if you have a guest, you're in talking to somebody or whatever, so just talk through those things so that it all goes smoothly. This one was a little tough, but we've got to address it. So depression is a reality on many campuses these days, with many students struggling with it. And look, let's get real. Having to recreate your routine, make new friends, live among a sea of strangers in unfamiliar circumstances, away from all the people you know and love and everything that's familiar, is really stressful. Reaching out to new people to build relationships is tiring. So it's kind of a vulnerable time. And a lot of people are already struggling with depression, and then more struggle with it. You're missing home, just, homesickness is just missing all the stuff I'm used to and the people I'm used to. And I don't have any friends yet here. So I don't have the people to just have that camaraderie with, that friendship and hanging out and doing stuff and just being connected. And I don't have anybody to talk through things with either. So let me make you aware of the signs of depression, okay? Sleeping an excessive amount, losing interest in things you were previously interested in, not caring anymore, neglecting your hygiene, which in a dorm may also mean you're skipping meals since you got to go someplace else to get food. Some people on the other side will overindulge in food in an attempt to comfort themselves, because we've all eaten before we got there, right? And now we're eating on campus. So it's like, oh, wow, I know how to do this thing. And it's something that's comfortable. I know it's familiar. And, it's tough. This is a tough transition. Another sign is feeling hopeless or persistently sad or really anxious. So there are a number of habits you can create which will help you avoid becoming depressed and will help you cope and recover from it as well. Regular exercise of at least 30 minutes a day of sweat-inducing activity of some kind will help you to think better, have more energy overall. And because of the release of the endorphins in your body, you're going to feel happier in general. Getting outside in the sun on a regular basis will expose you to the sun and to the light and to the outside world, which doesn't have any books in it. And that also can help your body with vitamin D and things, just getting out of depression and clearing your mind a little bit. Journaling is a tool that helps many people sort through the events of the day and or their emotions. Now, some people don't like to do that. Some people do. It can help. Should you suspect that you are becoming depressed, seek help. There's going to be a counseling center on your campus. Getting help through a difficult time is a sign of strength. None of us can do everything on our own. We all call the plumber or the doctor or whoever for specialized help. We all need it sometimes. So remember that you're in a vulnerable situation of not having a social circle. You don't have people to connect with and to talk things through with and get advice from. It's tough. And, even calling home, and as loving and close as you might be with your parents, they're not there with you. So they get it, but they don't get it. But they get a flavor of what you're trying to say. And, it's just not the same. Don't hesitate to ask for the help you need. Your RA is going to have resources. The counseling office is going to have resources. Ask for help. And if you see, one of your roommates or somebody in the dorm or someplace looking like they're struggling, let the RA know. They can go check on them, or if you have some kind of relationship, you can touch base and say, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's just, go do something. Sometimes that's all it takes to just like, oh, wow, somebody noticed me. So, okay. Then I wanted to talk about obstacles to success. Last but not least, we got to be aware of these things. Sex, drugs, and alcohol are going to be more available on campus than they were during high school. So these can obviously derail your college success. You can flunk out. Lots of things can happen. So you need to kind of have a mental game of what are your goals and what are your priorities and, what are your limits. Romantic relationships are wonderful things, but be aware they're time consuming and breakups can be emotionally exhausting. You want to be prudent about choosing when and how much to get involved romantically with other people. Sometimes temporary boyfriend-girlfriend situations and ensuing nasty breakups, they mess up your grades. Is that worth it? This is particularly important for students who are planning to continue to grad school. Drugs and alcohol, as we all know, both impact our bodies significantly. Having fun with your new friends is fine. Using drugs and alcohol, flunking out, missing things, it really isn't. Again, set some limits and make some choices that support your college goals. And one final note, not related to anything else, do everyone a favor. Communicate with your parents regularly. Set a regular time to touch base every week or so. It'll make things better for you and it'll keep their worries at bay. And, nobody needs mom or dad texting constantly, like, how are you? How are you? How are you? Like, leave me alone. I'm trying to figure this thing out. So just, set up that time so that, they hear your voice for 10 or 15 or 30 minutes and they know that you're okay and you're struggling, but they get to tell you that they love you and listen to you and you get to hear voices you're familiar with and everybody can breathe a little bit better. So I wish you all the best. If you'd like to meet to discuss anything I brought up or anything else, I'm happy to do so. However, I will say I'm not an attorney, so I can't provide legal advice, and I'm not a financial planner, CFP and all those kinds of things, so I can't do that either. But if you'd like to meet with me to schedule a consultation, go to CelticCollegeConsultants.fullslate.com, click on my name, select the service you want, and schedule a date. All the best to you. Congratulations again on your acceptance. So exciting. Colleges have so much to offer. We are so blessed with these amazing schools and all these wonderful things they've put together for us. Go and make the most of the opportunity you're about to have. Make it a good one. Have a great college experience. Thanks. Bye-bye.